Welcome to the Digital Edge.
Great to be here.
Get ready because today we are jumping straight into the mind of, well, a real tech visionary.
Eric Schmidt, yeah.
Yeah.
Former Google CEO.
Exactly. We're unpacking some of his latest thoughts, on tech, business, the future, stuff he talked about in a recent interview.
And his perspective is so valuable because he wasn't just watching the digital revolution happen.
No, he was right in the thick of it, shaping it.
Right. And now he's focusing a lot on AI, so his views on what's coming,
Yeah,
they carry a lot of weight.
absolutely. So let's get into some of the core ideas he's been talking about. One thing that jumped out at me was this idea of embracing risk.
Mm-hmm. And learning really quickly, especially from what doesn't work.
Yeah, like get to market fast, see what happens, and, adapt. Don't be afraid to stumble a bit.
It's that whole fail fast idea, but it seems core to how he thinks innovation happens. That speed, that agility.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? How could you apply that in your own field? Could a bit more experimentation unlock something?
Definitely. And he linked that to how Google managed resources, remember, that 70-20-10 rule.
Oh, yeah, 70% on the main business?
Right, the core stuff.
Yeah.
Then 20% on things nearby, adjacent areas.
And that last 10%, that was for the really new, kind of crazy ideas.
And he suggests that was actually key for finding big new ways to grow, new revenue.
It's a useful framework, even personally. Like, are you spending all your energy just on the main tasks?
Or are you carving out a little time for related things or even those, wild ideas that might just pay off later?
Okay, but let's shift gears to AI because, wow, he had some strong things to say there.
He really didn't hold back. Basically said if AI isn't in every part of your business soon,
You're facing obsolescence. That's pretty stark.
it is. But it shows how fundamental he sees AI becoming. It's not just theory anymore.
No, it's a core tool. And he even brought up human survival.
Yeah, that the impact is that big.
Yeah.
Which really underlines why we all need to understand what's happening.
One of his big worries, though, wasn't exactly like Terminator scenarios.
No, it was more practical. He talked about maybe needing a time to pull the plug,
A point where maybe development has to stop if the risks just get too big to handle.
which brings up that whole crucial need for, guardrails,
Yeah.
oversight, thinking ethically before we get too far down the road.
Right. What kind of checks and balances do you think we need as AI gets deeper into everything we do?
It's a huge question. And he mentioned some specific scary stuff too, didn't he?
Uh-huh. The potential for AI in creating, like, dangerous biological agents?
Chilling. That intersection of AI and biotech, it needs serious, serious attention. The power is immense, for good and bad.
So, shifting slightly, his advice for young people, say an 18-year-old, what should they study?
Pretty direct advice, actually. Learn Python.
The language of AI, he said.
Yep. And cultivate really strong analytical skills. Critical thinking.
Makes sense. In a world full of AI-generated stuff, you need to be able to sort through it, right? Analyze things properly. That's vital for you, whatever your field.
Totally. He also had some sharp words for social media algorithms.
Especially TikToks. He called it a bandit algorithm.
Yeah, basically saying it learns what grabs you and just keeps feeding you more and more of that narrow thing.
Which can lead you down rabbit holes, maybe biased ones, and isn't great for mental well-being either.
It taps into those broader worries about filter bubbles and echo chambers, doesn't it? How do we ensure we still get diverse information when AI curates so much?
And if you were running TikTok, his focus would be on quality.
Elevating the good stuff, reflecting the best of humanity, he said. Kind of like Google tried to do with ad quality early on.
Interesting parallel. It's that constant tension, right? Engagement versus responsibility.
Always. Okay, let's talk about building great companies. He had this term, divas.
Huh, yeah. These incredibly talented, driven people, not motivated by ego, he clarified, but by the mission. You need them.
And their ideas need potential for scale. Big impact.
Plus, he talked about culture, how it often comes from the founders.
And in tech, it's often very engineering focused,
Yeah.
making the product just work.
That culture piece is foundational. He gave that example, remember, Google Video versus YouTube.
Oh, right. Google had a video platform first.
But they kind of missed the boat. YouTube, the newcomer, seized the opportunity.
It shows how established players can sometimes get stuck, right? Too slow, maybe too set in their ways.
While the startup is nimble, fresh eyes, it makes you think, how can bigger places stay innovative?
Good question. And speaking of speed, he really stressed it with generative AI.
So the leaders will probably emerge in, like, the next 6 to 12 months.
That's incredibly fast. The urgency in that space is palpable. Get in early or risk getting left behind.
And he argued Google didn't just focus narrowly on search, remember?
Right. They deliberately went after multiple big things. Kind of challenges that idea that you must hyper-focus.
Maybe a broader vision, leveraging core tech in different areas, is another way to go big.
Interesting thought. What about hiring for startups?
His advice: go for raw intelligence, potential,
Yeah.
ability to learn fast.
Over, say, decades of experience or a super stable resume.
Exactly. Be willing to take a chance on smart people who can adapt. Makes sense for a fast-moving environment.
He even talked about Larry and Sergey at Google, their kind of unique brilliance.
Yeah, seeing things others didn't, he wasn't even sure if that level of insight can actually be taught.
Maybe not entirely, but you can definitely build a culture that values curiosity and sharp thinking.
He mentioned a cool DeepMind project too, Notebook LM.
Oh, the one using Gemini, trained on podcast voices.
Yeah, said the conversations it generated were incredibly realistic, a sign of how these creation tools are becoming available to everyone.
Democratizing content creation, for sure. But also raises questions about authenticity, right? Deep fakes and all that.
Which kind of loops back to his big question: is AI a matter of human survival?
Okay, he seems to think, yeah, potentially it is.
Because of the speed, the potential misuse, misinformation, those bio threats we mentioned, new kinds of warfare.
The power is just so immense, and AI itself doesn't have built-in ethics. So we have to build them in, establish those safeguards.
Urgently. He did sound a bit optimistic, though, didn't he?
A little. Believes societies will adapt, governments are waking up to the need for oversight.
And he stressed the role of those trust and safety teams inside tech companies, testing for harms.
That collaboration, developers, regulators, ethicists, it's going to be absolutely vital, balancing the risks and the incredible potential.
So if we boil it down, a key takeaway from looking at Schmidt's recent thinking is just the sheer speed of AI.
And its massive potential impact. Everywhere.
And his big call is for us to be proactive, right? Engage with it, think about the guardrails, the ethics. Don't just let it happen.
Exactly. And as AI keeps evolving so fast, it's really crucial for you listening now to think about what it means for your work, your industry, even your daily life.
Yeah. And if this sparked your interest, definitely try to find that full interview with Eric Schmidt, or maybe check out his book Genesis for more.
For sure. And maybe just mull this over. With technology changing this fast, what are the fundamental principles, the core values that should guide how we innovate? How do we make sure it leads to a future that's actually good for humanity?
A big question to ponder. Thank you for joining us on The Digital Edge.
Always a pleasure. Really fascinating stuff.
And that wraps it up for today here on The Digital Edge. We'll catch you next time.